I am so glad that I persisted. Because otherwise, if I would have done things the traditional way, I would have never been able to stand here today. The 21st century needs a new fashion narrative. And yes, many people thought I was crazy. But let me tell you why this makes sense. And then you can decide if you find me crazy too. As a kid, I used to love to wear dresses. They were my favorite thing in the world. I wouldn't leave the door without a dress. It felt like it was part of my identity. I still grew up in the physical world, but I'm a millennial, so the digital world slowly became part of my youth. Games like The Sims let me express myself however I wanted to within this digital space. And I could endlessly dress myself, shifting identities. And I loved it. I didn't need a big closet for that. So, fashion is a language that you speak. It's something that you wear, but it communicates in such a big way with emotions. Every single one of you here today made a choice about what they're wearing. Even if it is, I don't care, it's still a choice. I made a choice to wear this kimono because I think a kimono is one of the most sustainable garments that exists today, because it's passed on through generations. Now, this message of fashion, that is the message that I wanted to tell. But I came in school, and I could not believe how physical things still were. I had to sew outfits day and night in order to get my teachers, to see what I made, and I was just hours and hours spending in my room. It literally looked like this. This is a real picture of my room back then. And I absolutely thought, why are things so physical? While the digital life permeates our daily life so much. And this fashion narrative, this is what brought me to studying fashion. Because, I absolutely loved the way that we could tell that story. And I didn't agree with the way things were done. So I told my teachers, hey, is there another way we can do this? Can I maybe graduate without any clothes? Is that a possibility? Could I make a digital collection, maybe? And they literally looked at me like I was crazy. They told me, hey, you can try, but we cannot guarantee. Yet here I stand, even being able to show my graduate collection at Amsterdam Fashion Week back in 2016, without touching a single piece of fabric. My name is Jea Slooten, and I am creative director of the very first digital fashion house. We create clothing that is always digital and never ever physical. We believe that clothing does not need to be physical to exist. And that the 21st century needs a new fashion narrative. Because change in this fashion system is long overdue. Rivers in China are literally turning the color of the next fashion season. Brands do not know how to get rid of their clothes. They just produce too much. Big luxury houses burn perfectly new, unworn clothes. They burn them because they don't want to lose their market value. And the second-hand clothes that you think you put into the bin, 20% gets resold in Africa, and the rest ends up like this in a landfill, 80%. As a fashion designer, I felt a gigantic responsibility. We cannot continue like this. More and more clothing, the pile just gets bigger. Oops. So, let me ask you a question. Who of you has here an Instagram account? Can I see some hands? Okay, it's quite a lot. Okay, who has 2? Yeah, who has 3 Instagram accounts? Not so many? Okay. Well, the average teenager has about 5. 1 for their parents, 1 for their friends, and about 3 to experiment with their identity. Now, these kids have grown up in this digital life. They are digital natives, the first digital natives. And for them, physical is digital. For me, I mean, I'm the bridge. I'm in between these 2 worlds. I understand both, but for them, both is digital is extremely important. Games like Fortnite is extremely popular under the youth right now. It's a free game to download, but the game makes about $2.4 billion in revenue each year on in-game purchases. Let me say that again. $2.4 billion in in-game revenue every single year for products that have never even existed in real life. Digital items. So the youth already gets it. So why are fashion shows still so physical? I mean, there's even about maybe 200 people at the physical event watching the shows, the catwalks, the models. And then the rest of the world watches the fashion shows on Instagram. Designers even talk about how important the picture of the clothing is, even more important than the show itself, because it needs to spread far and wide. So at the Fabricant, we thought, hey, couldn't we create a similar sort of experience, but then not wasting so much and needing all those photographers and models and to ship our collection? So in June 2018, we created a virtual fashion show. It was displayed in several places throughout Europe, also in Amsterdam and in Paris, in the same week. We didn't need any models, and we didn't need to ship a collection, we just sent a file. But the emotional reaction was the same. People asked me, can we buy this somewhere? Can I have this garment? Like, people didn't even realize that it was fake. So they asked me, where can I buy this? And I said, you can download it all for free from our website, because we believe in this open source society. We believe that fashion needs to think differently about their ways. So all of this is for free to download on our website. But we weren't able to give people the wearing experience yet. That is our next step, which will look something like this. We want to create a future where people will be able to wear our clothes, all of our clothes, digitally, and where people are able to express themselves endlessly. This change doesn't happen overnight, and we also understand that for brands it's very hard to still grasp the idea of not having any physical products. So we help them along the way a bit. For a lot of brands, it's very hard to create sample collections and to reduce that amount of samples that they create, because before a garment hits the store, there's about 5 trial versions. And all of these trial versions end up in the bin. So with about 4 sample collections a year, you can imagine how many garments end up in a pile. It never gets sold. Using 3D technology, brands could save up to 80 to 100% on their sample waste. So even in that way, it could be such a great solution. One retailer in Hong Kong even asked us if it's still important to have clothes in the store. They asked us to animate a campaign for their 30-year anniversary. And we never even saw those people. We never went to Hong Kong. We just got some files from the fashion brands. And we were able to create this. So this campaign was shown in a physical pop-up store. And it was only shown on screens, and people could just order from the screen, and then the items would get sent to their home. This pop-up store didn't even make it to all the locations because the collection sold out that fast. But brands, like I said, it's still very hard for them to understand because they still send a physical product. But we believe that we can go even further than that. The term haute couture is protected by law. Every year, a small group of people comes together to decide on which brands are in and which brands are out. Now, what if you're a fashion house that doesn't use scissors and cutting tables, but uses the highest resolution screens and the best digital craftsmanship? What do you call that? Using blockchain technology, we were able to create a unique item in the digital space. Because blockchain gives virtual items value. Last May, we created the first digital couture outfit. And it was sold for $9,500. Our model, which you see back here, wore it on their Instagram. Maybe a handful of people saw her walking in real life that day. But hundreds of thousands of people saw her wearing the item on her Instagram. So I'm asking you, what is the difference? Wouldn't it be incredible to just from anywhere in the world download a new outfit that feels good and doesn't impact the planet? Fashion rules are meant to be broken, and it's so long ago that we reinvented that industry. And to continue the way we do now, the way things are traditionally done, to me, is way crazier than anybody ever called me. So ending off with a beautiful quote by one of my biggest inspirations, Isaac Asimov. Things don't need to be real when they seem to be. Thank you.